From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Back in the Raytown, Missouri studios of Dale Carter's America. Hi, I'm Dale. He is Kurt Wheeler. Say hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Today I'm wearing my, if you're watching the video, I'm wearing my Q104 baseball jersey because, you know, I have responsibility for that station now, too. It's like we're all taking on a lot more roles these days, right?
Got to get the branding out there, man.
Got to get the branding out there. If you're just listening to the audio, you should really transfer over to video because we're going to play a lot of videos, show some pictures on this episode of Dale Carter's America. Kurt is always here at the beginning to tell you all the ways that you can consume this product and how you can spread the word and be a part of the growing Dale Carter's America platform.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. If you're watching on video on YouTube or Rumble, make sure you're subscribed. Drop a comment, drop a like. It all helps with the algorithm, and definitely share it with your friends as well. You can also find the audio-only podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And
all right.
then make sure to follow on Facebook as well.
And give us like stars, right? Isn't that how that works? Give us a high rating or something?
Yeah, give us a good rating. Send us money.
Like an Uber driver, right? We want to get 5 stars.
Wire transfer, Bitcoin. We take it all.
Whatever you got, man, we'll take it. It's fine. As this episode of the podcast is posting, President Trump is meeting with Putin in Alaska. Interesting that no Russian president has ever been to Alaska. You know,
oh, really?
We bought it from them 150 years ago.
Huh.
Yeah. And they've never been there, allegedly. I mean, at least publicly. And Putin is going to be in Alaska. Trump's going to meet with him. The Europeans are freaking out. Zelensky's freaking out because they don't know what Trump's going to do behind closed doors with Putin. And we don't know what Trump's going to do when he gets behind closed doors because nobody ever knows what Trump's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, he's probably going to negotiate like, listen, I'll give you Alaska if you give us $25 billion in oil that we can, you know.
I don't know. I think California might be a play.
Yeah.
We'll give you California.
Don't sell Alaska. Alaska's too nice.
Yeah.
You can sell
give
California.
Give him California.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give him San Francisco. That'll be good. You guys can take over. That'll be fine. How might it go? I don't know. What are the chances for success? It would seem to me if that we're going to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, that Zelensky at least ought to be involved in that, don't you think?
Nah.
No?
Screw him.
Yeah. All right. What did you have, an article here that you wanted to
that
put
was
up?
It. I just put it up.
Oh, you just put it up.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't even paying attention. And if you're watching on the video, you saw the article that Kurt put up. We'll see how it goes. Gosh, I don't know. I just know that at his core, when you hear Trump speak, and sometimes you can actually feel him speaking from the heart. A lot of times I think Trump is very surface level, and he's like making fun of people, and he's saying all these things.
Some of that's from the heart too, though.
Yeah.
To be fair.
But when he talks about 6,500 people a week are dying in this war, needlessly. I mean, that's something I think that really impacts him, really affects him, and he really would like to see this war end. So we'll follow it. We'll see what happens. But I don't think you can predict anything that might come out of this. We'll just have to see. A lot of folks like Lindsey Graham were pointing out that when Reagan met with Gorbachev in Iceland, Reagan didn't like the deal, and Reagan walked away. Mm-hmm. And he's encouraging Trump that if Putin tries to sell you a bill of goods or something, don't be shy. Walk away from the deal and put him in a box. Because right now I think the United States holds a lot of cards in this because the Russian economy is really on the edge. We've said that for years, but now we're going after countries that deal with Russia. India is trying to buy their oil, and so we put bigger tariffs on India. And so these countries are like, wait a minute, why do I want to do that? I don't want to pay a bigger tariff. I can get my oil from anywhere. I can get it from the United States. That would be okay with that. So a lot of this is to play out. I just wanted to put it at the top to know that you should know that we are watching it. We are focusing on it. Last week, we brought you the story that made national news from Kansas City about the Sunfresh market at 39th and Prospect. National news did a story on this because our local government put millions of dollars into this grocery store and it failed. It failed at a level that we've seen in Soviet Russia, right?
I thought you were going to do a Trump there for a second.
Oh, yeah?
It failed at levels that, frankly, we've never seen before.
Never seen. People have said this. The more I hear Trump, the more I think I can do him, I guess. Not the level that you're doing it. But millions of tax dollars have been wasted. And, you know, I have been in politics, in government, may get into government again, and I always start from this premise. What should we do? What should government do? And to me, it comes down to a couple of things, right? Provide effective public safety. You can't have a community, you can't have an economy unless people feel safe. And do they feel safe at 39th and Prospect? They absolutely do not.
Nope.
No. So you've got to make people feel safe in that urban core. And then you take tax money that you receive through taxes and you plunge it into infrastructure. So if you have a safe community and you've got the right infrastructure, then guess what happened? A vibrant capitalistic economy can thrive. The government has no business running a grocery store. They don't know the first damn thing about it.
Yeah. And the update is it closed. I think you may have mentioned that, but
yeah,
it closed.
Yeah. Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And it has to be done in that order. We have to provide effective public safety, and then we have to follow through with infrastructure, and then we need a vibrant economy to pay for the thing. And that's really all local government should be doing. And when government gets off the rails, they go into things they have no business going into. And anybody who thought, oh man, this is a good idea, this is a bad neighborhood, so instead of fixing the neighborhood, we're going to put in a community grocery store that we're going to pay for.
Yeah. More food for people to steal.
What could possibly go wrong? And you saw what went wrong there. A little bit later on in the podcast, we're going to have Brad Lemon on, special guest. He is the president of the FOP Lodge 99 in Kansas City. And, you know, he has a lot of cops who elected him president of the FOP Lodge. He has some very strong opinions that relate back to the whole Rodney King thing. About how it all changed, how everybody got woke. But I'm going to be honest with you here. I think woke is dead. And the pendulum that swung so far to the left is now coming back to the right. Will it swing too far to the right? I mean, that's the question that's got to be answered. But, you know, when it really started to swing, if you look back, when Barack Obama ran for president, he ran twice and he won twice. He ran against John McCain and Mitt Romney. And we were so woke and cancel culture was so fresh that the two presidential candidates could not criticize the president because they were afraid.
Right.
Well, we can't do that. We're going to be called a racist, you know? And I think we've gotten out of that. I think cancel culture's done. Things like this podcast have made a big difference in that. We're now allowed to say what we want. And you know what? The people out there with, like, you know, things sticking through their nose and their eyebrows and different colored hair and all that, they can go, hey, you can't say that anymore. You can't say that anymore. And we say, screw you, right? Those days are done. And now we get to tell the truth from our perspective. The First Amendment in this country is alive and well, and the left hates it. They want to keep that First Amendment down. They want to say whatever they want to say. But man, if we give our opinion, we're in trouble. Well, those days are done, and we're going to take a victory lap as part of the solution to the problem here at Dale Carter's America for the last 4.5 years. We could not do this podcast without some special people to help get it done. First of those is Bob Watson, a Blue Springs State Farm agent for 5 decades. In fact, 51 years. Bob Watson has been helping folks like you and me, bundling home and car insurance to save, always being there when it hits the fan. Because that's the true test of your insurance, is when things go wrong. 816-229-7878, auto, home, life, commercial insurance, licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. Bob is a fantastic guy. He was a fan of the podcast before he became a sponsor of the podcast. Please give him a shot at your business, because like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and the gold standard in the Kansas City area is Bob Watson. 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878.
Tremendous people.
We're keeping our cars longer. Got to keep them maintained. Our newest sponsor is Tim Porter at Christian Brothers. And Christian Brothers is more than a name of a business. They are true believers. And Tim Porter is a local guy. He lives out there in Lafayette County. That's where he lives, but he works in Independence, running the Christian Brothers Automotive there at 19600 East US Highway 40 in Independence. You can reach them and get an appointment for your auto service at 816-839-9266. They take care of virtually every brand of vehicle. And when you're with Christian Brothers, you get checked in on an app. They give you a report after the fact and let you know all the things that you need to have done. And 75% of their technicians are certified. That is the minimum number at Christian Brothers. Okay, they've got 40 plus current certifications, including hybrid, electric vehicle. They can take care of anything that's got wheels. In fact, my son works there, and they were working on one of those vehicles that you can also drive into the water. He said, "I've never seen one of these before."
Oh, like the duck boats?
Yeah, like a duck boat. He said, "We're working on that."
This is him, right?
Yeah, that's Tim Porter and his family.
I was just making sure I wasn't like putting some random family on
What
the screen.
and you know, it's a very clean location, as you've mentioned before, and they're really going to take care of your vehicles because, again, we are keeping our vehicles longer. Michael Schroer is the guy who's going to get you your next new house, and I'm telling you, he is just knocking it out of the park. I see every day another home that he has sold. A lot of starter homes being sold right now. People moving from apartment living into homes. And Michael Schroer is ready to help you. He's a broker with Remax Elite in Lee's Summit. His phone number is 816-373-8400. His cell is 816-520-9342. Email address michaelschroer56 at gmail.com. That's Michael, then spell out the last name, Schroer, and the number 56. And again, the office number 816-373-8400. Starter home, bigger home, smaller home when you're an empty nester, or maybe it's a piece of property you want to build your dream home on. First, you want to sell your house. He can help you with all of that. And Michael's another guy who was a fan of the podcast before he was ever a sponsor. And he said, "How can I get involved? How can I help you spread the word?" And Michael is a big part of what we do here on Dale Carter's America. So if you're ready to buy, sell, build, he's the guy that you need to talk to. So Donald Trump has cracked down on crime in the District of Columbia, using power granted to him by the Constitution. I know the left hates that. They hate it when we actually read the document. You know, they'd like to change the document, stretch the document to say things that it doesn't say, but the things it actually says in it, they really don't want any part of. He's cracking down on crime in the District of Columbia, something he can't do anywhere else. What he's trying to do is say, okay, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Baltimore, Kansas City, Memphis, all these states or all these cities where crime is just completely out of control. We're going to get it under control here, and maybe you can build on that. Maybe you can do that. We have a slide that shows the murder rate per 1,000 from world capitals.
Do you want to watch the video first?
Yeah, watch the video first.
Okay. Sound.
And he used to
Sorry.
said, you know, my father always used to tell me, I had a wonderful father, very smart, and he used to say, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in, because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our Capitol's dirty, our whole country is dirty, and they don't respect us. So it's
Yeah. And
That's
now,
really good analogy, honestly.
it isn't a great analogy,
Yeah.
right? So put up the slide that's going to show you. These are world capitals. Washington, D.C., obviously the capital of the United States, and then the other world capitals that are out there. And look at the murder rate per 1,000. Per 100,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
DC, I'll just read them down for the audio listeners. So per 100,000 homicide rates, DC 41 is at the top of the list. And then comparing to Lima, Peru, 7 per 100,000. Havana, Cuba, 4. Nairobi, was that Kenya? 5. Brazil, capital Brazil, 13. Lagos, Nigeria, 15. Bogota, Colombia, 11. Mexico City, 8. Addis Ababa, I don't know where that is, 6.
Yeah. So 41 per 100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem.
Well, and it's also important that this is not like England, France,
Yeah.
Poland, it's like, I mean, they're probably sitting at like 1 or 2. These are like places that you would consider to be dangerous third world countries, Cuba, I mean, it's 10 times higher than the homicide rate in the capital of Cuba. It's insane.
41 per 100,000 is probably better odds than you can get playing Powerball.
Way better. Yeah, way better.
You got a better chance of being killed in Washington, D.C. And this is not a new problem, Kurt. This goes back a long time. I was in D.C. in the 90s. I was there on a business trip for my radio station I was working for in Hartford. So it was more than 30 years ago. And we had these, like this jersey I'm wearing today is white with red and blue, right? Our logo at the station in Hartford, also red, white, and blue. And we had these white satin jackets with the red and blue logo across the front of it. And I was there with another guy that I worked with, and we were going to take the nighttime tour of DC. So we got on the metro there, which the DC metro, I think, is the best in the country.
It is really nice.
Big fan
I
of
mean,
that.
now it's like super dirty and gross, but
back in the 90s, I mean, that was the gold standard.
Yeah.
And we're on this train, and I look around, and not only are we wearing these blatantly white satin jackets, we are the only 2 white people on the train. And a lady looked across at me, and she goes, "You shouldn't be here." And I'm like, okay, we survived and all that. But, and there are parts of DC now where you don't want to be after dark. It's dangerous.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to be there during the day either.
Yeah, well, in Kansas City, Westport at 2:30 in the morning, where I am Monday through Friday, that's dangerous as well. So the race card, as you know, has already come out. We've talked about this on the podcast for 4.5 years. They only have 5 plays in the Democrat playbook, and play number 1 is it's racist, and that's come out. Trump, the dictator, is only cracking down on big cities. Why would he only be cracking down on big cities?
Yeah, why isn't he sending the National Guard out to the cattle farms in Johnson County, Missouri?
Yeah.
Where there's like 5 people.
Right. I mean, in D.C., you've got affluent suburbs around there. Why isn't he sending the Guard there? He should, right? Just to make everything equal. Should he be cracking down on the suburbs, just to be fair? I don't think so. He's going to where the crime is. Of course, Maxine Waters has weighed in.
Words mean nothing. Actions mean everything. Watch this. Watch it very closely. Ask a lot of questions. Focus those cameras on everything that's going on, because this president is trying to lead us into what could be called a civil war.
Wow. Could be called a civil war. And the Civil War...
How much do you think those sunglasses cost?
They're fancy. Did you hear the sirens going off in the background, too? I mean, you're in a real safe place there, Maxine. Of course, she's probably got security guys all around her. But, the Civil War, you want to talk about a civil war. The Civil War, if one breaks out, is going to be between good and evil. And evil does exist. Crime does exist. And if we are going to, on one hand, say that if you commit a crime, it's like, oh, cashless bail, we're going to put you back out on the street because surely you're just misunderstood. And juveniles that are going around committing adult crimes, well, they're kids. They're just kids. We can't punish them at all. If you continue to do that, we're going to continue to have this problem in the cities. And that's why he sent these people into the cities. And of course, the latest Democrat talking point is crime's down 30% in D.C. Have you heard that?
Yep.
Crime's down 30%. How does that work? Well, when you don't report certain crimes anymore, of course, the overall crime rate comes down. And the FBI, by the way, disagrees with their ComStat reports. For the truth in this matter, we turn to an unlikely source. Chris Matthews on MSNBC is an old friend of the program. Had him on my show on KFKF. And occasionally, Chris Matthews will tell the truth, even on MSNBC.
You can't keep saying violent crime is down, but the murder rate's up. To the average person, the murder rate's about life and death. You don't brag about a rising murder rate. And the Democrats are, I agree with you, Mika, they're falling into the trap of defending what's indefensible.
It's a trap. Yes, it's a trap. I mean, if it's not a winner politically to say, oh, you're wrong, look at the data. Because, if one violent crime happens in a very heavily populated part of the city, people hear about it and it's visceral. They don't want it. And they'll gravitate to the person who appears to be doing something about it. So the question is, politically, what should the Democrats be saying in this moment beyond, oh, no, it's not a hellscape? I mean, I don't think that's a response, actually.
Well, I'll tell you, Bowser's a good mayor. We've had some mayors in the past that aren't so great. Yeah. She's a good mayor, and she's doing as best she can. I like her response. It's moderate. It's intelligent. She knows the situation. She's a Democrat, and she has...
All right.
Yeah, that was more than enough.
The thing about that is, it's just amazing. They're not actually talking about the crime. They're talking about the politics of it.
Right.
She's like, politically, how do Democrats react to this? What do they say to save face? They're so lost in the sauce of politics. It's all about the spin from the beginning.
Right.
And she's like, well, yeah, you can't point to the data because that's a loser politically for Democrats. It's like, yeah.
Well, the sauce, to your point, they put the dish together. This is all of their making. And now people who were quiet about this stuff are like, I'm done with this. And we have a leader in Donald Trump who doesn't care about the noise. They can call him whatever name they want. They've done everything to him. Right. We've chronicled this. How many times did they indict him? They got a kangaroo court to get all these convictions. Well, he's a convicted villain. He did this and that. Yeah, they did all that, and he doesn't care. They shot at him. He got up. He doesn't care. He does not care about what they say, and he keeps putting them in this box. That's the trap they're in. It's like these are the things that they did, right?
Right.
They created this environment, and all he's doing is calling them out about it.
Yeah, and to your point that you mentioned, with cooking the books on some of the statistics, because that is a talking point that has been going around. It's down 30%. It's down 30%.
They're not reporting assault.
Right. And so this is from a report that somebody posted on X. Fraternal Order of Police Chairman Greg Pemberton. Quote, when our members respond to the scene of a felony offense where there is a victim reporting that a felony occurred, inevitably there will be a lieutenant or a captain that will show up on the scene and direct those members to take a report for a lesser offense. So instead of taking a report for a shooting or stabbing or carjacking, they will order that officer to take a report for a theft or an injured person to the hospital or a felony assault, which is not the same type of classification.
Yeah.
And then you can also look at how they redefine some of the booking statistics. They put these people as white. And they're like Hispanic, or literally Nigerian, migrants. They book them as white in the, you can look at the police reports. And so they're cooking the books in every way possible to make it seem like A, it's not a problem, and then B, it's not a demographic problem. And then, but with homicide, I mean, a dead person's a dead person, right? So it's a lot harder to cook the books on that stuff. And then just some more statistics here. Inside DC crime, DC had the fourth highest homicide rate in the United States in 2024 with a rate of 27.3 homicides per 100,000 people. DC's homicide rate is almost 6 times higher than New York City's rate per 100,000 people. DC's homicide rate is almost 4 times higher than LA. DC's homicide rate more than doubles Newark's rate. DC also beat out Atlanta, Chicago, Compton, and Oakland.
Yeah. Well, again, you guys did all this. And why is he focusing on blue cities? Because you're the ones who have cashless bail. You're the ones who have sanctuary city status. I mean, you're the ones who've done this. You set this up. You put these dominoes up, and the dominoes are starting to fall, and Trump keeps trapping you on the wrong side because you're on the wrong side. Think about that. and elections have consequences. We had one in Jackson County where we had Tracy Chapel Vick, who was on this podcast, who would have held people's feet to the fire. And Democrats went the other way. And so we continue to have cashless bail in Kansas City. We continue to have all the problems that we have in Kansas City. It's a blue city, and I don't think there's any coincidence there. And then you got Trump trapping them on the other side on everything. Nancy Pelosi, it's all about the trans kids.
How is your office responding to the pauses in gender affirming care here in California?
Well, that is something that I'm working for at the national level, and we have, how can I say, are hoping that we can have gender affirming care for our trans kids, and that it's a sad thing for us. I'm not totally. I don't know what effect we can have nationally with what we have going on in the White House and in the Congress. It's really very sad. If you were there, outside our door, we have a trans flag. Outside of our door in the office, congressional office building, we have the trans flag, as do some of our other colleagues. But that view is not necessarily shared by people on the other side of the aisle.
Is she okay?
I don't think so.
Yeah, she's losing it, man.
And by the way, the trans flag, do they have an anthem that they sing? I mean, if you got a flag, you got to have an anthem, right? I mean, what's the deal? So, and they say it in such benign terms, Kurt. It's like gender affirming care for minors. Let me tell you exactly what that means. You got a kid, maybe a boy, who is having thoughts like, I don't know. I mean, I keep hearing everybody talk about this. Maybe I'm really a girl. I'm a minor. But under Nancy's plan for gender affirming care, I can go get my wiener cut off and have a vagina cut in there. And then when I get to be 18 or 19 or 20, I'm like, gosh, those thoughts were wrong when I was a kid, and I'm a full-fledged man with a vagina. I mean, it's a little hard to go back the other way, right?
Yeah.
That's why, throw this picture up that I put up on the Facebook page.
Do I have to?
Oh, come on. It's fun. So to describe it for the audio only, it is a trans type person. I don't quite know what they're wearing, but they're holding up a sign that said, and has the trans flag. I think that is the trans flag, don't you think?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. It said, there are trans kids to protect in Palestine too.
I mean, I don't even know what to make of that.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I put that up, and there were a lot of comments on it, and some of them were saying I'm homophobic and blah 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 blah. To be clear, and on the record, what people do when they are adults, consenting adults, I have zero problem with. You do you, right? I'll do me as an adult. But when you're a child, it's a different deal. And again, you have kids who may lean one way, maybe peer pressure's involved. Has nothing to do with whether they're gay or straight, by the way. I'm talking about changing your gender. I mean, if you really feel that strongly and you're a 25, 30-year-old adult and you've got the wherewithal to get that done, go get it done. Go with God. Whatever. You and God work it out later on down the road. But not kids. And
I gotta be careful.
I know you do. And the sign said there are trans kids in Palestine. The other point I made was there's no such thing as Palestine. You can't find it on a map. There is Gaza, and Hamas runs Gaza. What do you think they do with trans kids in Gaza?
Well, Palestine has not been a country, but it is a place. It is historically a place.
Well, historically it's a place, but on a map, you're not going to be able to find it now because in 1948, the United Nations crafted Israel out of that and set up the Gaza Strip and the Golan Heights and all that. And
they took what used to be called Palestine and they made it Israel.
They did.
Yes.
And since that time, there's been conflict all the way down to when Yasser Arafat came to see Bill Clinton. I can't remember who was running Israel at the time. And they gave him everything he wanted. And he walked away from the table because, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, especially with my wife, but women typically want to have the issue. They don't want to have the solution. Don't put that in the promo.
Ain't that the truth?
They don't. And Yasser Arafat didn't want the solution. He wanted the problem. Fundraising off of it. They didn't want to run a country. They just wanted to, bash Israel. So they gave him everything he wanted. At that point, Bill Clinton said, you know what? I'm done. Good luck. And that's where we are today. So I don't think there are any trans kids in Hamas land that need to be protected. But if there were and they knew about it, they'd drop them off of a tall building.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know enough about the demographics there. I mean, there are Christians in that area that are getting bombed. So
they're not running the place,
but they are getting bombed.
Yeah, they're
getting persecuted.
It's a bad place.
I had this other thing up here too. I don't know if you heard about this or not, but New York City opens first government-funded transgender homeless shelter.
There you go.
Have you heard about this?
I hadn't heard about that, but that's New York City. That's a blue city.
So it's going to, I have to take out my phone to do some quick math here. So it's going to cost $63 million a year for this transgender homeless shelter. And there's 150 beds. So just some quick math, 63 million divided by 150 is $420,000 per person per year.
Gets back to my point. Government needs to stay in its lane, right?
That is crazy.
They can't run a grocery store. They can't run a homeless shelter. I mean, Stay in your lane and do what you're supposed to do, right? Government now on the side of criminals. They're on the side of letting liberal DAs let crime slide. One of my favorite episodes of Blue Bloods. Did you ever watch that show?
No.
Great show. I mean, a fantastic show. Frank Reagan, played by Tom Selleck, he's always fighting with the mayor because he's trying to protect his cops and enforce laws in the city. And one of the first episodes, the clash he has with the mayor, is over broken windows. That's how I first became aware of the whole broken windows thing. It's like, you got to let some of that stuff slide. Well, you've let it slide, okay? We've gone from broken windows to stolen cars to assaults to armed robberies to murder. It's a scale. I mean, if you think that marijuana is an entry drug that gets you into harsher drugs, what do you think crime is?
Yeah. I mean, that's, well, I don't, yeah. Forget I said anything. Okay. I was gonna spoil something from our later conversation.
Oh, okay. Let's don't spoil anything from a later conversation. All that said, how's it actually going in D.C. with the National Guard now helping the police? Did you find that video?
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now. What is it exactly?
It was a guy walking around D.C. on the first night, or the first dawn after night, when the National Guard had been there. And basically, it was all quiet.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to find it on the fly here.
Well, doggone it.
We have seen, just to kind of say what it is, I mean, we have seen some firsthand eyewitness accounts just from the first couple days, because it's been, 3 days, something like that, of people walking around and saying that, nobody's out on the street late. The crime is down. They're not hearing gunshots. So
they do have protesters now, and it took them a day to get there. But the paid protesters are there, and my understanding is George Soros is funding that, which shouldn't shock anybody.
Yeah, they probably have. Here's some protesters here. They probably have like signs, perfectly manicured signs.
Black youth are under attack. What do we do? Stand up like that. And black youth are under attack. What do we do? Stand up like that. What do we do? Stand up like that. What do we do? Stand up like that.
The interesting thing is you got black leadership in the front there, and they've all got matching T-shirts, so I'm guessing they were paid to be there. But mostly it's white liberals who are doing this, just like happened in Overland Park last weekend. You had a bunch of white liberals out there talking about something they had no idea what the truth was, and that was an ICE raid at a Mexican restaurant in Kansas City. Have you heard about this? Yeah. So ICE gets there because this restaurant apparently had some basically slave labor in the back. And
really?
ICE was there to rescue them. And so a bunch of white liberals had a little protest going in Overland Park. I put that up on the podcast page too. But that's where the outrage is coming from. It's the purple-haired white liberals of Johnson County who live in places like Leawood and aren't exposed to any of this stuff, and they get a thread of a story and they run with it.
Yeah, they don't really look into it very deep. It seems like they just hear ICE bad, National Guard bad.
Kevin Keatsman really dug into that story, and I think he's doing a fantastic job over on KCMO. Very impressed with him in following these stories and his radio show as well. So I guess the question that comes out of all this, will blue cities start cracking down? How might it affect Kansas City? Our next guest is going to have some insight into all of that. First, before we get there, let's tell you about Royal Roofing and Solar. Roofed by Royal.com, Austin Watterson's company, 816-540-7057. His question of the day, is your roof 15 years old or older? Insurance companies are charging higher premiums on older roofs. I know about that because when I had that shake shingle roof, my insurance guy, Bob Watson, told me if they knew about it, they'd probably cancel you. You got to get that thing off there. Homeowners are getting their insurance dropped because of the age of the roof or maybe the condition of the roof. Then you're forced to pay really high premiums somewhere else, or you got to put a new roof on. Sometimes it is better to get a new roof. The monthly payment on a new roof could be offset by the discount you're going to get from your insurance company for having a new impact-resistant roof. Get with Austin Watterson. He'll tell you the truth. So many of these shysters out there are telling you, oh, yeah, we can get your insurance company to pay for it. And then you go to the insurance company and you find out that is not true. Roofed by Royal.com. Austin is a guy who did the roof on my house. They will take care of you. They will treat you right, and they will answer all of your questions truthfully. You don't always get that in the roofing business. Roofed by Royal.com, 816-540-7057. All right? And then when you go celebrate at Funhouse Pizza. 2 locations for Jim Dingman's outfit, 50 Highway in Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. You got football coming up. Have you had your parent meeting yet for your junior league football thing going on? Flag football and all that? Funhouse Pizza is the best place to do it. Over great pizza, very cold drinks, and when the kids get bored, when the parents get into the meeting, you got all the games that they can play as well. You can get your pizza online at funhousepizza.com. You can take it home with you. You can eat it there. Jim Dingman will take care of you. Great host for all of the parties that we have with Dale Carter's America. He'll take care of you as well. 50 Highway, Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. That is Fun House Pizza. Brad Lemon is president of the FOP Lodge 99 here in Kansas City. Brad, thanks for being here on Dale Carter's America. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. I was going to start with D.C., but I want to back up from that just a second because this morning something caught my eye, and that is Kansas City, Missouri advertising for new officers. I mean, you're the head of the FOP. We want to recruit new officers to come in. How do you sell them on this with what's going on in our community specifically?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if we can keep falling back on the last 11 years, since August of, this has actually been an 11-year mistake that's caused these problems across the country ever since of Ferguson, August of 14. This has really just been the continuation of a lie, right? That the hands up, don't shoot, and communities burnt across the country because of a story that never happened, and then we've just pushed narratives and narratives and narratives across the country, and so we've got a lot of work to do, right? There's I tell people you have to understand we're recruiting from the people that were in high school and college for the last 10 and 11 years, and their social media page has said nothing but bad. The news, mainstream news, the Kansas City Star, whatever you want to say, has spent a lot of time degrading this profession, and because of it, we're going to struggle. We are for a while. That's just the nature of the beast. Hopefully that it's turning around. I can tell you that nobody's working harder than Kansas City Police Department and our recruiting policing unit, trying to get people in the door. And to be honest, they've done a very good job. We're still losing people at a rate we probably wish we weren't. I know we wish we weren't losing them at the rate we're losing them, but they're at least getting in the door right now. And that's a step that we haven't seen in 10 years.
Well, you know, I come from a cop household. My stepdad was a policeman in Evansville, Indiana, and he's been retired quite some time now. And I just look at what's going on, not only in Kansas City, but cities like Evansville, Indiana. There are cities across this country, to your point, where it's dangerous right now to be a police officer. Personally, I'm glad he's retired.
Yeah, you know, the advent of what happened in 2014 created this an anomaly, this crazy thing that's going on where people are actually hunting down police officers and assassinating them, either sitting in their cars, setting up fake calls. We've seen even firefighters shot on these fake calls. I mean, this whole thing that happened in August of 2014 and the desire of the mainstream media and the far left, woke, politicians was to somehow believed that there was another way to police communities that we would somehow hug our way out of or love our way out of the situation we're in, and it's just not working. And we're seeing communities like like Kansas City, where we had unfortunately we went through the whole Ferguson problem because it was in Kansas, because it was in our state.
Right.
We went through the 2020 COVID issues, the Minneapolis pieces that happened here with the George Floyd riots. What ends up happening is you've got people that have made decisions that they want to be police officers, just they would choose another community to do that in. And that's the beast we're going to have to battle for for a generation or more.
Well, it seems like they're in search of a narrative. Like when the black kid, the 19-year-old black kid, goes up and knocks on the old white guy's door and he gets shot and he gets injured. That's the narrative that brings the Al Sharptons to town, the Jesse Jacksons to town, and they blow it up. But you and I know that we deal with this almost every day in the Kansas City area, and I've blocked it out on a map, bordered by I-70, 435, Brush Creek, and 71 Highway. There is black on black crime nearly every day, and nobody ever talks about it.
Yeah, and it's a sad piece, because the people that paid the price of the defunding across America weren't the purple-haired ladies that live in Overland Park, and they weren't the screaming, yelling, hardcore leftist liberals that choose not to live in the urban core. The people that paid the price were the people that live in the urban core that don't have the money to go rent a place or move into Overland Park or Liberty or Lee Summit. They are where they are because of the circumstances of their life, right? They don't have head of household jobs. They don't have transportation that would take them in and out of Raytown, Lee Summit, or whatever else. So they're in a community, and the community that's paying the price clearly are the people that in the borderings you talked about, that truce to city limits, Independence Avenue to basically Bannister, that one square is just. It's just bad, and it's a lot of work. And unfortunately, the people that are getting victimized at a much higher level than anybody else are the people who can least afford it because they don't have the ability to move.
Well, and I don't think the police are the problem. I'm never going to say that. The problem is on the prosecution side. There's a few things here that jump out at me. Juveniles getting their hands slapped and put right back out on the road and committing the same crimes. Cashless bail. Where are you on those things?
Yeah, so, I can let's just speak on juvenile first. There's a young juvenile that was convicted of double homicide and spent less than 2 months in jail. And he was back out and then was involved in another homicide as an adult. These are the problems. If we don't hold anybody accountable at an early age, how are you going to expect the adult system to do something? When they're at their most formative years, when people are at their most formative years, and there's no accountability for them, they're just going to continue. When we still have a problem with with vehicles being broken into by a group of young kids. It's not as bad as it was, but that Kia group, I mean, they weren't just stealing cars. They were doing armed robberies, aggravated assaults, murders. And when we talk about, just think what would have happened if we'd held any of them in custody for the stolen autos they were involved in. They would not have graduated to the shooting, of people, shooting of a restaurant owner. It wouldn't have graduated to murder and mayhem. So yes, juvenile crime's a nightmare for us because they're just not being held accountable. It's the other issue is, I'll be honest, is our jail issue. I mean, we don't have a municipal jail, and that's been intentional, right? At this point, we can say that this isn't misfeasance, this is malfeasance. This was an intentional act by people elected to help provide the tools that police officers need to help police this city. And when we don't have jails, when we don't have a Jackson County jail that can hold, that's less than a quarter of the size that it needs to be for the population of Jackson County, that was intentional and it was wrong. Yeah. We don't have a municipal jail and haven't had one for 13 years. Again, it was intentional. There's this whole thought process is there's another way to police. I don't know what that is. If there was another way to police, I would write a book, make $1 billion, sell whatever I've got, and retire to the Bahamas. None of that's true. In policing, people that do bad things have to be contacted by police officers. And they have to be arrested. They have to be held. They have to be held in custody when they're doing violent crimes, and then the system has to hold them accountable. We have cashless bail in Kansas, in the state of Missouri, which has just been an absolute nightmare for us. We've got, I haven't done it yet. We've done it a couple times. We've talked about doing it more than this, which is holding the state and holding our judicial, our judges accountable for the crap that they're doing. I mean, these cashless bails, these, signature bonds on violent people, clearly there's a saying that says you can't police your way out of crime. And that's true. You can't arrest your way out of it. But for God's sakes, how about the people that are shooting people, the people that are robbing people, the people that are raping people, people that are murdering people? Those are the people that we have clearly missed on, and they're continuing to create mayhem in their own communities.
Well, one of the things that they wanted to do in the defund the police thing was send out unarmed social workers on domestic calls. And I know when I was a kid growing up, my stepdad would tell me those were the diciest calls that he ever went on, was a domestic call. And here we are. We buried another officer this week answering a domestic call. 3-time felon, out of prison, kills a very popular sheriff's deputy. And again, they wanted to send unarmed social workers out in a situation like that. How do we better protect our cops?
So, we can't do that. We clearly cannot send unarmed social workers to calls. There are events where social workers and people in the mental health community would definitely have a leg up on what we do. But when we show up, you have to think about this. 911 is the last thing most people want to call. You don't want cops in your life. You don't want your neighbors to see police officers parked in front of your house. You don't want any of that. And we understand that. But so when somebody calls the police to show up to a house, that's at usually their most critical situation. They're at the hottest they've been. They can't get it calmed down. And then they want to talk about sending an unarmed social worker to these calls. That's literally, it hasn't worked. It won't work. And there's a room for them, but that's after the critical situation has been handled, is under control. We can provide resources and information and phone numbers and access to people that can do that. But there's just no way, that we should be sending individuals that can't protect themselves up to these front doors, because it's not ending well for police officers or firefighters. It absolutely would not end well for unarmed social workers.
Well, I feel for all you folks that are first responders, because, to your point, we had an EMT earlier this year giving aid to someone who they picked up on the side of the road who was bleeding, and she stabbed him to death. I mean, it's just crazy what's going on right now. The president has decided that D.C., which he oversees as part of the Constitution, needed National Guard troops to come in and quell the huge murder rate that's going on in the District of Columbia. As a cop, as the head of the FOP here in Kansas City, would you welcome that kind of help if it came to that?
I don't. So here, I can't speak too much to the Washington D.C. issue, other than the fact that I can tell you that the Washington D.C. FOP supported the move. They feel like they need help. These are you can backfill jobs. You can do location protection. We could pull some uniform people out of jobs that maybe are not patrol jobs, but are that are jobs in buildings that we don't need them in anymore. You need the work done, just may not need to be a sworn law enforcement officer. So I do think that this surge will help. I've been watching videos all morning from people from Washington, D.C. saying they haven't heard a gunshot in 3 or 4 nights. Wow. Now, that's big. And, I watch a lot of news, a lot of cable news networks, and I will tell you, it is funny to me that the people that are screaming and yelling the loudest about putting more work, more bodies in the cities are the people that caused this in the first place.
Right.
That defunded the police officers.
Bingo.
And now they're saying, we don't need this. Well, my question is, if not this, what? You've chosen not to have jails in Kansas City. That's an intentional decision. You chose to defund the police department in 2021 by $52 million. So at the end of the day, these were intentional choices. If you have a better idea, give it to us. Let us see it. Let us hear it. In fact, let's publish those ideas. The reality is people made bad decisions, caused police departments and police officers to either retire, leave, or choose, or individuals choose to other job directions.
Yeah.
And now you want to say we don't need this. I don't know what we need, but it would bother me if the governor said, hey, I think we need to have more resources in Kansas City and St. Louis, and we're going to send additional resources in there. I don't know what that looks like, but, we're down 300 officers. So I imagine we could use some help.
Well, what can we do in the public? What can elected officials do? I mean, if you had a wish list of a few things, what could we do to make life better for police officers? Yeah,
so I'll tell you that I spoke on this a couple of weeks ago at an event, I think for Nathan Willett, which was the silent majority is finally waking up. I wish to God they weren't silent when all this was happening.
Yeah.
But they were. But they are waking up. The communities are starting to see that they play a role, and being quiet isn't the role to play. And there were a lot of people in 2020, 2021 that, would email us and call us and comment on social media and all that and say that they support us. But the fact of the matter, a lot of people were afraid of being canceled. And I think the conversation has to be is that if we as a nation and as a population, we get afraid of being canceled because we support public safety, we have a problem in this country. And that is how we got here, is that we had a silent majority that were afraid of having things written about them or being attacked. So they chose, to kind of sit back and see what will happen. And that empowered the very small, loud socialist voices that are out there that wanted to, completely strip police departments of its funding, and believing that if we just hug each other and provide enough resources, life will get good. It's never happened anywhere else. So at some point, an adult should have stepped up and said, wait, we've gone too damn far. How do we fix this? And now it's just going to take time. But what we need now is just people to stand up and hold their politicians accountable. When you have mayors pretending that they weren't leading the parade, that weren't protesting, that weren't saying things in back rooms and weren't doing, then they get away with that. The people that defunded us will get away with that because we didn't stand up, because there wasn't a call to stop it. And I think that's what we have to do is when somebody says, oh, I support police officers or I support this, just have a memory of where they really came from and actually look at, and there's one thing, taking pictures with an arm around a cop or saying, we support our police officers. We've had a jail solution on the table in Kansas City now for a couple of years and has not been fixed. That's that's intentionally happened. Okay. Well, then don't listen to, our city council people or our mayors or people that are running for mayor, going forward. If they say they support the police department, hold them to their votes. Where were they on the jail? Where were they on public safety? Where were they on the defund piece that happened in 2021? These are the people that we have to say, wait a minute, I'm not giving you a free pass. You had a job to do. You chose, you clearly advocated your position to protesters and socialists, and until we see votes and we see not crap that they say at a mic, but where are we? Right. And right now we don't have a city jail, and it's probably going to be 3 or 4 years before we get one. I cannot believe we're in a position where the largest event that's in Kansas City history is going to be handled with no municipal jail. That's quite literally malfeasance by the men and women that we voted in to do a job.
Scary times for you and first responders throughout town, but you're fighting the good fight, and we're here to try and help you get that done. Brad Lemon, president of FOP Lodge 59 here in Kansas City. Thank you so much for spending the time, and I'm sure we'll be talking again.
All right, Dale, you have a good day.
We want to thank Clay Como Shooters for being a part of Dale Carter's America. The law enforcement community, they know these guys very well because they are former law enforcement, in some cases current law enforcement, and they train law enforcement. So if they're training law enforcement, they can train you as well. We're in a situation now, Brad Lemon talked about what the cops are up against. What you're up against as a citizen is something bad might happen to you. And by the time you've called 911 and a patrol car gets there, something really bad could have happened to you or your family. It's incumbent on you to protect yourself and your family. Find the right firearm and get trained on it. These guys have affordable pricing. They're a full line arms dealer. They can buy your gun if you want to sell one. They'll sell you the right gun. They're not a big box store, neighborhood business looking out for the community. All right, full service firearms dealer. Indoor shooting range, which Kurt and I have been to. Maybe we'll go to it again sometime. Get trained. The weapon is just one thing. Once you get the right weapon and you get the ammunition for it, it's one-stop shopping at Clay Como Shooters. You need to get trained on it. And Herb and the guys there will definitely work with you to get you trained so in a moment of emergency, you won't freeze up and you'll do the right thing. 816-452-4867. 816-452-4867. They're on 69 Highway in Clay Como Shooters. Big part of what we're doing here on Dale Carter's America. Kirk Doris is a big part of what we do as well. He is with Medicare Simplified KC. You can find him on the web at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. We are rapidly approaching the Medicare annual enrollment. It's coming up soon. Medicare in 2026 yet to be finalized, and the big beautiful bill, they're still going through that to figure out what impact that's going to have on Medicare. You know there will be changes. It's why you need a pro. If you are coming up on 65 or somebody in your family is, you need to get with Kirk Doris and let him walk you through the traps of what Medicare is going to be. Which plan, which part? Do you need a supplemental plan? You probably will. He'll find you the very best deal to get that done. 816-701-6661. They're at 3600 South Nolan Road in Independence. They serve the entire metro area. If you can't come to him, he'll come to you. They've helped thousands of people who are where you are right now, who were where you are right now. Okay, it's a daunting task, and Kirk Doris will make it simple. You need him on your team just like he is on our team. At last report, Texas Democrats still on the run to avoid a vote for redistricting, a vote that they will ultimately lose. Actually, the latest I heard on that is they're going to come back to Texas as we're posting this because that's the end of the special session. But Governor Abbott says he's going to call another special session right after it. So at some point, they've got to go to the State House and vote. They are in a very small minority, but a small minority that can keep them from getting a quorum. At some point, they've got to come there and do their job.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much drama, man. You know, it's like, yeah, it's just drama, and these people are, you know, trying to make a name for themselves, and Jasmine Crockett is among them, of course.
Oh, of course. Well, she's going to be squeezed out in this redistricting plan, but she got squeezed in on the last one, right? That's why Gary McNamara's throwing a big fit, because he's like, wow, she's my congressman by like 1,000 yards.
Right.
How did this happen to me? Because redistricting happens a lot. Now, it's been tradition in the past to only redistrict after the 10-year census. I looked in the Constitution. There's nothing in there about that.
Yeah, about the 10-year window.
Right.
Yeah.
That is just tradition.
Right.
States are responsible for sending their delegation to Washington, D.C. They have in the past, by tradition, not by law, done this after the 10-year census, but there's no requirement for it. So Republicans have looked at the Democrat playbook and said, wait a minute, Donald Trump got nearly 40% of the vote in Massachusetts. How many members of Congress do the Republicans have for Massachusetts? The answer is none. He certainly got enough votes in Connecticut, you would think, to get congressional representation. There are no Republican congresspeople in Connecticut. In fact, there aren't any in New England whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
We've also bagged on Illinois a little bit. Scott Walker posted a couple of maps that make the case as to why Illinois should be more red. We should have first the congressional district map of Illinois as it stands. That green that's on the left, if you're watching the video there, that goes from East St. Louis through the middle of Illinois and then takes another turn north, that's the 13th district of Illinois. Keep that in mind, because you're going to see, and there are some other places where you can see, like, is that the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's places you can look here where there's like little slivers, right? So this 13th kind of comes up, but then there's this random sliver that goes up here, and it goes into Springfield, Illinois, which is obviously an urban center. You have this one that goes kind of down and then goes up here into, I don't know where that is, some other city. Same with this. There's like a little tiny little nipple or pimple on top there. And then, of course, Chicago, you know, is broken up into a bunch of different ones. But
okay, so you've seen that now. If you're watching on the video, this is the current district map of Illinois, where the Texas legislators, the Democrats, fled to. I mean, I would think Illinois does a pretty good job of gerrymandering to make sure they get a lot of Democrats. Scott Walker also put up the zip code map, represented how people voted in the last election. Now, you see blue around East St. Louis, Illinois.
Right here.
Yeah. And then obviously the Chicagoland, there's a lot of blue. There are pockets of blue here and there, but it's mostly a bright red state. So leave that map up, because I'm going to show them how they can even gerrymander it even more, because Chicago is a very large city, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you probably have enough Democrats in Chicago that you could basically squeeze out all the Republicans, even down to southeastern Illinois, the very corner down there where my former in-laws live. Grayville, Illinois, that whole area down there, Carbondale. If you carved up Chicago enough and like ran a string down Highway 1 in Illinois, which comes straight down, you could probably create another blue seat right there. Just take Chicago and run little lines to every little red district, and voila, just like Massachusetts and Connecticut and the rest of New England, you would have 0 Republicans in Illinois. They're not doing this enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. And, you know, these kind of maps can be a little deceiving just because, you know, obviously it looks like there's mostly red, but you have population density as a concern, you know, as a factor here. So all these red areas are much less population dense than the blue areas, especially around Chicago. But still,
Well, we don't have the map here. We had it, I think, last time that showed 1970 Illinois.
Yeah.
And it was carved up in geographic ways that made sense.
Right. Exactly.
And, you know, it is what it is at that point. But I'm just telling you that it's gerrymandered at this point, but they're not doing it enough because you could use Chicago more to your benefit if you could make part of a district there, Grayville, Illinois, there at the southeast corner. And
if you can see my cursor here on the screen, it's probably hard to see, but you just here, I'll make it full screen. You just take a little circle here and then you just go whoop and you go way down here.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah. And, you know, the Democrats are out there saying, well, we need to, in places where we have blue majorities, we need to do more gerrymandering. And my question is, how do you do more gerrymandering than you've already done? Beto O'Rourke, remember him? Did he run for president? I know he ran for the Senate in Texas.
He ran for governor.
Okay, he ran for governor.
Or Senate. Yeah, Senate and governor maybe.
He ran against Ted Cruz,
and
he lost, and governor as well. Well, he's really mad.
I'm going to actually play this other clip because I have 2 clips here, but we'll just skip right to the second one because it's better. This is him at some kind of thing where he's on a stage talking or whatever.
Yeah.
So
we have watched the open display of a criminal network operating in the highest positions of power and public trust. They are scared because they have assumed that there will never be accountability. Remember, Donald Trump promised us he would be a dictator on day one. He promised us that if you vote in the 2024 elections, that's the last time you'll ever have to cast a ballot. It took Hitler just 53 days to destroy German democracy. At every major turn, every time he exceeded his authority, defied the German Constitution, broke down the rule of law in that country, the German press, the German politicians, the German public, most importantly, did too little, too late.
Oh, Donald Trump is Hitler. You're the one advocating for taking away everybody's firearms. It's funny how the Democrats call us Nazis, but everything they do is fascist.
We are in a basketball game right now, if you'll excuse the metaphor, where the refs have left the arena
on the court,
and the other side is just clobbering the shit out of us, just punching us in the face, kicking us in the nuts, and we're kind of throwing our hands up and we're asking the crowd, the people of America, hey, do you see what's going on here? This is unfair. This isn't the rules that we agreed to play by. Well, who cares about the rules right now? Punch back, kick back, dunk over their heads, and win some power.
Trump is Hitler.
The old Trump is Hitler routine.
That's all they got, man.
Yeah.
That's all they got because they've already done this to the level that Republicans have really never played at. And is Donald Trump destroying America, or is the right, who's been quiet, to Brad Lemon's point, who let them do all this stuff in the blue cities, finally rising up and saying enough?
Yeah.
And I have faith in this country. You know, we swung the pendulum too far to the left, cancel culture took over, and now the pendulum is coming back the other way. And if it swung too far to the right, it would go back the other way. It's been the way this country has been for, almost 250 years. That's the way we are.
Yep, it does seem like that. It does seem like it swings back and forth. And, you know, I mean, it's good that there's checks, I guess, but it's also not great because it's like our culture is so undefined. You know what I mean? Like you would think by now we would have a solidified, like, this is America that everyone could kind of more or less agree on, but it seems like it's actually devolving, not solidifying. You know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of a pessimistic look.
Yeah. I guess so.
That's okay. I like you anyway. This is going to be continued as well. We'll see how that all goes. But 2026 is going to be here before you know it. There is going to be a midterm election, and it's going to be on Donald Trump. You know, whatever he's done. How's the economy? How are gas prices? And typically, the incumbent president loses seats in the midterm election. And will he lose seats, or will this economy take off? Will the Fed cut interest rates? I think they're going to next month. I think all the groundwork's been laid there that the Fed is going to cut interest rates. Nobody's talking on the left about the stock market anymore. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Stock market's taken off like a rocket. And if the Fed cuts interest rates, the economy is poised. It's like held back. The reins are held back. And that first interest rate cut, you're going to see this economy really take off. So I'm bullish about what's to come. And I think that Donald Trump's doing a good job. Does that make me a Nazi? I don't know. I guess for Beto O'Rourke I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We have one last story to bring to you, but first we'll tell you again about Bob Watson, Blue Springs local State Farm agent for 5 decades, 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878 for auto, home, life, commercial insurance. Bob will take care of you. Bundle your home and car insurance and save even more. I know about this because we've added a vehicle for little Lord Fauntleroy, and now bundled with our homeowner's policy, it was not that big of a bite. All right. He'll take care of you and your family, get you the best deal you can. And like the good neighbor that Bob Watson is, when you need State Farm coverage, he is going to be there to back you. 816-229-7878 in Blue Springs at 7th and Main, but licensed in both Missouri and Kansas, and he has clients throughout the metro area. So be the next Bob Watson State Farm client. Okay, I've hired people in the past. Part of my job is to hire people. We're going to play a little video for you for how not to get a job. If you don't want to be employed in anything other than, telemarketing might work for this person, some place where you don't have to interact with the public.
Customer service.
Yeah. But if you're going to interact with the public, you really should not have the look that we're going to show you. Do you have any tattoos? I've never asked.
No.
I'm not a tattoo guy either.
Yeah. I've thought about it,
What would you get?
I don't know. It's kind of like, the thing is you wouldn't want to get something that you wouldn't, if you have like a random interest or something like that, you know what I mean?
Because then the random interest goes away.
Yeah.
And your body changes over time. I mean, what's that going to look like when you're 80 years old? Is it going to be sagging down to your ankles or whatever?
Yeah.
And the way I look at it, and I think you'll appreciate this, because your faith is probably better than mine. I think when God designed me, he designed perfection. Why would I want to mess with that? Right?
Look at this perfect specimen.
Look at this perfect specimen. Why would I mar it with some sort of tattoo? But if you're going to get them in a place where you can cover them up so you can get a job, right?
Yeah.
I looked at this video and I thought, God, would I want to walk into my bank and see this as my teller? Right? Would I want to go to the dentist and have this be my hygienist? I can't imagine that. So roll the video. This is how to not get a job.
So I applied for a job at TJ Maxx a few weeks ago and they denied my application. They couldn't even call me. They just sent me some automated email. So I went in today and I was like, so what was the reason I didn't get hired? And she was like, you just don't have enough experience. There was candidates that had more experience than you. And, I asked her if it was about my tattoos, obviously, because
Yes, it is about your tattoos.
Well, and if you're listening to audio only, you're missing this. She has bleach blonde hair, and she has a tattoo on her forehead. She has tattoos coming down her cheeks to her neck, down to her cleavage area.
Yeah.
Arms.
It's like satanic stuff, too. We're not talking about Mickey Mouse or SpongeBob, you know what I mean?
And, and she's got this big bull ring through her nose.
Yep.
And I have had people wait on me in restaurants who have that, and I think that is disgusting.
Yeah. Let's finish the clip.
Yeah.
I know a lot of places don't like tattoos. She said that wasn't the reason. I don't feel like that's true.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you want to tattoo the mess out of your face, be my guest. There is no law against inking your neck with demon symbols or scrawling all kinds of occult imagery across your forehead, just like there's no law against putting 40 studs through your cheeks and your lips or dyeing your eyeballs green. If you're a dude who wants to strut around in fishnet stockings, or if you're a woman who wants to dress up like a cat and meow at everybody, that's not illegal. Supremely stupid, but not illegal. But please, for the love of all that is holy, stop demanding that the rest of us accommodate your insanity. You did what you did to be different. Congratulations, mission accomplished. So if TJ Maxx doesn't want you to be the face of their store for their customers, maybe go see if the circus has any openings.
So
harsh, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Got to give her a little slack. I mean, she can still turn it around.
You would hire her?
I'm not saying I would hire her. I'm just saying she can still turn it around.
How do you get those tattoos out?
I don't think you do. I mean, there's tattoo removal, but it's not that good. And
Not
like on the
that
neck
good.
and the face, you know, I've obviously not from firsthand experience because I don't have any tattoos, but I've heard people say that tattoo removal hurts worse than getting a tattoo.
Another reason I'm not going to get a tattoo because I'm a wuss and I'm not going to let people use me like a pin cushion and then think I'd have to get it removed. I do have a job that she might want to consider, and she could be a staffer on Capitol Hill for a Democrat congressperson.
Yeah,
I think she'd fit in perfectly.
Yeah, we've had cross-dressers. We've had people doing very inappropriate things in the Capitol building. We had luggage, cross-dressing luggage thief. What else? Yeah, we've had all kinds of weirdos.
Well, now that Trump's got the National Guard in D.C., it's a lot safer. So maybe that should be the path that you take. All right, well, we'll watch the news because there's a lot coming up between what's going on in Alaska, what's going on in D.C., what's going on here in the Kansas City area. We'll report it all and have our own unique take on it next week on Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.